Sequestration. It's a big word, and it is having a big effect on many Americans. Who's being hit the hardest? Joining me now, Nancy Cook, economic correspondent at the National Journal, Ron Herndon, chairman of the Head Start Association, and Glenn Bailey, executive director of the Crossroads Urban Center. Thanks to all of you for being here. Ron, I want to start with you. Has Head Start started to feel the effects of the sequestration yet? Oh, yes, absolutely. There are slots that are not being filled. There are Head Start programs who've had to cut their hours. Services have diminished already. Children who would normally be getting nutritious meals aren't. So at a time when childhood hunger is a problem in this country, it's only going to increase. The kind of medical exams that children would normally get, they're not getting. Medical follow-up is not occurring. Dental exams are not occurring. And on top of all of this, parents need Head Start so they're able to go to work. In many cases, they're not able to go to work because the services of Head Start have been cut. And no one has stepped in, to this point, no one has stepped in to fill in some of these gaps yet. No, and it seems as if Head Start is viewed as just collateral damage in this fight that's occurring in Congress, and there is no sense of urgency to resolve this. And unfortunately, in many cases, Head Start is the only lifeline to the future for children and their families. This lifeline has been cut for 70,000 children, and it's a hell of a Mother's Day card to send to 70,000 women in this country. Glenn, first of all, for folks who are not familiar with Crossroads Urban Center, just really quickly, what is it, and have the effects of the sequestration started to affect your organization as well, and how so? Well, we run an emergency food pantry and a thrift store that gives away free stuff, low-income service provider here in Salt Lake City. And what we've seen, because we don't have a lot of government money involved in our program, is that other programs that our clients rely on are now experiencing cuts, and that's going to get worse. There was an emergency food pantry in Salt Lake County that's already been closed as a direct result of the sequestration. Nancy, when Congress passed legislation to bring back air traffic controllers that had been furloughed, you wrote an interesting piece, and here it is in part. Other special interest groups, unions, and lobbyists are planning to rev up their efforts to undo the cuts bit by bit, or in this case, by a few $1 billion here or there. The actions of the FAA over the past week, alongside airline groups and unions, offer a playbook for others to use as they too seek exemptions. Have we started to see any of the other groups to lobby to undo some of the effects of the sequester?
Well, what we've started to see since I wrote that piece was really that there are more and more agencies that are not going to end up furloughing employees. So the Department of Education said this week that it's not going to furlough any teachers between now and the end of the fiscal year, which is September 30th. The Justice Department isn't furloughing people. So there are still some agencies that are doing it, but we're seeing more and more people sort of, getting some exemptions or finding money elsewhere. The problem is that we haven't necessarily seen that for programs for low-income people, which I think your other guests have talked about. So there's no big push, for instance, to
Nancy,
add.
Is that just because that a lot of these groups don't have, if they have lobbyists at all, they don't have as many lobbyists, or they don't have the high-powered lobbyists? I mean, is that all that's happening here, or is there more to it?
I think that's part of it. Unemployed people who have been unemployed for about 6 months or more have seen their federal benefits checks cut by the sequester, and those aren't people that have a lot of advocates looking out for them. So I certainly think that that's part of it. Ron, do you guys have a lobbyist? Are you guys actively lobbying Congress to undo some of this stuff?
Yeah, the National Head Start Association spends a great deal of time working with Congress, but as Nancy said, there's no way in the world that we can compete with some of the larger organizations. We don't have the deep pockets that folks on Wall Street have. We don't have the deep pockets that the pharmaceutical organizations have in this country. So we do the best that we can, but we are at the end of the line when it comes to someone taking us seriously, unfortunately. And again, it says a great deal about a country when, if you have any belief in the part of the Bible where it says, what you've done to the least of me, you've done to mine. And for low-income children, the one program that works so well and will impact them and their families for the remainder of their lives, that when you cut it and you cut services that prevent 70,000 people, 70,000 families from having this service, it is one of the most dishonorable political acts I've ever seen in this country.
Glenn, has the administration, has the Obama administration, have they tried to help your organization in other ways despite the cuts?
Well, no, like I say, we're largely privately funded, so we're kind of watching the other groups in town that do get significant government money. We're looking at cuts to affordable housing, utilities, Head Start, food pantries, WIC, Meals on Wheels. All of these things are going to be rolled out, and the longer this situation continues, the more obvious the impact's going to become.
Ron, how about you? Any other help from the administration?
Not at all, except suggestions about how you can make the cuts. It's almost as if when you growing up, if you had shoes that were too tight, rather than getting a new pair of shoes that fit, they say, well, take a razor blade and cut the side of the shoe, and maybe it won't hurt as much, rather than giving the kind of help, services, and a sense of urgency. That's what we see missing. There is no urgency in resolving this problem. We don't sense it when we're talking now about cutting weeks of service, cutting number of children served. There does not seem to be anyone in Washington, D.C. who is saying, we are going to solve this, we're going to resolve it. It was a mistake. We made the mistake, now we're going to fix it. We get no sense of that at all.
Nancy, who pays the biggest political price as this sequestration continues to unfold, or will there be a political price?
Well, so far polling has shown, and this is recent polling that came after the FAA cuts were rolled back, recent polling has shown that both Congress and the president at this point are sharing the blame, and that's polling from the Pew Research Center. So really both parties are taking the hit. It's not just Congress, it's not just the Republicans, and it's not just the White House, so they're sharing the blame equally. But the other factor at work is that a lot of people, a lot of Americans still haven't seen the effects of the sequester show up in their daily lives, and so until more Americans see it, there's going to be less political pressure to do something about it.
People don't feel it until they themselves feel it. Nancy Cook, economic correspondent at the National Journal; Ron Herndon, chairman of the Head Start Association; Glenn Bailey, executive director of the Crossroads Urban Center in Salt Lake City. A big thanks to all three of you. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A milestone at the World Trade Center. We'll take a look at that. Plus, missing Chris Christie's beloved fleece jacket. The boisterous governor goes viral. You're watching MSNBC.